And that's on the real, you know and we know, I say it's terrorism. They say you a patriot, call you a hero, I call it terrorism. And that's on the real, you know and we know, I say it's terrorism. They say you a patriot, call you a hero, I call it terrorism. And that's on the real, you know and we know, I say it's terrorism. They say you a patriot, call you a hero, I call it terrorism. We still out here trying to get our reparations, but the government pump faking out here hesitating. I'm out here trying to keep my peace, so I keep meditating. The media make us look bad, they taint our reputation. Look, it's so sad that COVID causing toe tags. You claim you so patriotic, but you ain't wearing no mask. You out here wildin' with your MAGA flags and showing your ass. You wanna be part of some type of revolution so bad. Look, you talk revolution and constitutional rights, homie. I guess we forgot about back in the days when all of the business was whites only. Yeah, George Floyd got justice. Juneteenth got much respect. They made it a national holiday. Man, it's all good, but cut the check. They're giving out all of these vaccines, putting it in you like caffeine. Was it all in the part of the plan? I bet money like DraftKings. It's land of the free, home of the brave. 1776, we wasn't free till 1865, so we wasn't part of that shit. And that there's terrorism.
Back to the Maze Jackson Show. You are listening to the most dangerous show in the morning. This is What's in It for the Black People Radio. Maze Jackson, the most vociferous advocate for black people in the world.
For Ruthie Moore, for Todd Stroger, I am the host of the Maze Jackson Show, asking every single day, what's in it for the black people? And if you don't like it, you can still tell them Maze said, Mayor Lightfoot, man, we ain't accepting that. We ain't accepting that. Let's go. Yeah.
Let's get down to business and go ahead and address the facts, man. Lightfoot seems more lesbian than black. Rahm Emanuel's another case. He was just as tired. 50 closed schools left much to be desired. Police had Anjanette naked on that body cam. They suppressed the footage so it couldn't touch a lot of hands. Reminds me of that 16 shots in that cover-up. Both of them similar, so I went and dug it up. George Floyd killed, a lot of riots happening in town. Southside burned and they wouldn't let them bridges down. Grandmother sick, need a prescription and plus a couple groceries. You gon' have to travel just to get it now. COVID-19 out here shutting all the business down. Not enough SBA loans to even give around. So many failed businesses that you can put them in the pile. If you don't survive the pandemic, it's gonna sit you down. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. Shout out to Willie Wilson, hope one day you get to send it. We need some different players in the game to handle business. So many shady characters like Madigan and Blago. But when you really break it down, it's typical Chicago. City full of gangsters, it's what the land was built on. Same streets with hood legends, DNA get spilled on. Carjackers out here lurking, trying to get they steal on. Looking for a block to put them Hellcat wheels on. Let us give bogus appraisals a red line. Car crackers out here getting minimal fair time. And I'm the seal carry, I stay with the pipe. But Illinois gun laws giving minimal rights. Stay up on the swivel, make sure I'm moving tight. Check all of my mirrors when I pull up to the light. Pick my homie up from out of town, man, he caught a flight. He was hella nervous, told him, shorty, this a way of life. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks.
Wake up, Chicago. Wake up, world. This is the Maze Jackson Show. I'm your host, Maze Jackson. We're going to have a serious conversation. I told you I feel like I got niggerized yesterday, and I'm going to use the words. But before we do, there's a moment at our station here. When you recognize you've built something, and we all have a personal affinity to it. Maybe when I came back from my last break, I told you that I was going to start to open the doors for people who I might not necessarily always agree with to come to the station. I've extended the invitation to all of the congressional candidates, everybody that's running for office, and I'm going to continue to do that. I think one of the things that I learned over my 10 years, or not my 10 years, but since I've been doing this, and I think one of the things that people loved about us was that we were like in their face and jumping at it, shut up and down, right. And, you know, probably the peak moment of that was during the Kwame Raoul scenario, right? And one of the things that I hope that I have done over the time is become a better interviewer. And the shock factor was always, ooh, we jumped on them. And the reality is, I want you to answer the questions. It's not my job to guide you into the questions. It's not my job to guide you into the answer that you want to give, that I want you to give. I want you to give your answer. And then essentially, you as the people, get to make your decision. And I found that in the process, you hear a lot more. Now, I also recognize that the den is a place of discussion and chatter, and everybody has preconceived notions. But I think it's important for the people that don't have very loud voices to be able to hear from the candidate and make their own decision. I know we think, like I was looking at these comments where it says if you voted for Bobby Rush for the last 20 years, then you're part of the problem. And I would say that,
12 is sound for me. 12 it. Everybody's saying the volume, and I got you all the way up.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I was looking at a video of Bobby Rush from way back in the day, and I quite frankly forgot what he looked like, how he carried himself, what he was until he got the throat cancer, right? And it's not my job to eat you alive. It's my job to ask the questions and for you to answer them. You're like, Maze, what's your policy on police? You need to ferret it out? And I think we have discussions that we have to make. But I don't think that this platform, how can I say this? It's like we all have personal relationships, but we also have a duty to the people that are listening that don't know all the inside baseball, that ain't, to give them the opportunity to hear from the candidates, right? If I was Jamal Cole, I would not have presented myself that way. But that's not on me. That's on Jamal Cole. That's what he decided he wanted to put. Now, I could take the comments of all of the people who have my number and are texting me and telling me how to bust them out, but I think he did his own thing. He presented himself. Now, you have the opportunity. Now, when we get a little bit further, I'm going to tell you, I got one concern right now, and that is the assessors race. We are giving the people who have announced for mayor the opportunity. It's time to dig in. But this was not necessarily that today. Today it was the Lion's Den, and quite frankly, again, my man, y'all sent me questions. I asked every question you asked me, every single one. Now, if you don't like his answer, that's fine, but I just would challenge you not to make enemies political enemies with the people that you may at some point want to convince to vote for you. So let's just say that two people that is in this thread, when Willie Wilson and somebody else is on this thread, you're going to want to be, if he was the second and you was in the, you're going to want that support because them seniors still go with him. Like, we just got to play. And when you see Dr. Wilson say he ain't gonna meet with y'all, I would be honest to say, like, dang, you think people don't see when you be like, you ain't Jack Bone? You ain't screw you? And I don't know that just one radio show or one broadcast is gonna make it happen. Right? And so that's all. That's all. All right. I want to go to something else. Yesterday I kind of froze a little bit. I don't know if y'all saw. But yesterday the Better Government Association did what they called an investigation on me. I'm going to go through this article. But I want to go through it kind of the same way I would go through an article if it was me, right? I want to go through it from the same perspective as we were going through it, because I think it's important that you watch the niggerization of Mays Jackson. And so yesterday, and I want y'all to be clear, people were saying, you got to explain yourself. You should talk to them. And I refused to talk to the Better Government Association, not because I felt like I had something to hide, but because I have my own platform to tell my own story. And so I decided, instead of responding to them, that I would respond directly to my audience. And so I'm going to share with you kind of the headlines, and then we're going to go through the story, and then I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. But it began yesterday. The story came out from the BGA, and it said, Alderman Walter Burnett softened stance on affordable housing after cash flowed. Developer Ani Group wanted out of its obligation to include affordable units in its luxury Old Town high-rises. Ani paid a Burnett friend more than $417,000 to lobby City Hall, helped sponsor a Burnett fundraiser, and pledged $25,000 to a charity run by Burnett's wife. Some tenants say the alderman abandoned them. The story begins. Lynn Cox recalls the day in 2016 when she and her daughter were told that they had to vacate their apartment at Old Town's Atrium Village. They were swept out to make room for a glittering new luxury high-rise Cox simply couldn't afford. And Cox, 55, remembers the broken promises made by tenants by their new Canadian landlords and their council representative, Alderman Walter Burnett, 27th Ward, long touted a champion of affordable housing. I'm going to now let me go to the crux of the story. In 2015, Ani hired Mazon Mays Jackson, Burnett's friend and political consultant, to lobby Burnett, eventually paying Jackson $417,500. Ani also pledged $25,000 over 5 years to a charity run by Burnett's wife, Chicago Housing Authority's official Darlena Williams Burnett, in 2020. Donated $11,000 to a political action committee she chairs. One of Jackson's first reported actions on Ani's payroll was to organize a fundraiser for Burnett. Let me back up. Jackson declined to answer or agree to be interviewed for this report. According to Burnett, I have no comments because you're always spinning stuff negatively, Burnett told BGA reporters after a brief interview near City Hall. Write what y'all are going to write. I'm okay with it. Let me see. I want to get the big bullets out because I want to get to it. So Burnett, recounting his childhood in Cabrini Green, Burnett described his lifelong push for affordable housing as personal. My thing is, as I've tried to explain to the tenants, I fought to keep affordable housing in the place. My thing was to them, I can't do everything. I can only be responsible for so much. Anis has responded, we have honored the legacy of the community while ensuring economically viable solution to affordable housing for the next 30 years. Blah, 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 blah. Ani is one of the only companies to deliver 20% affordable housing commitment or 300 units of a total 1,500 project, all on site. Ani, let me back up. Tenants, with the support of housing advocates and attorneys at the Shriver Center on poverty law, filed a 2018 complaint with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to force Ani to adhere to its affordable housing obligations. Ani quickly settled the case by pledging to include 309 affordable units in the development, although 211 of those units were grouped in an existing mid-rise. Let me back up. I want to get all the big points out first. The original 309 unit Atrium Village opened in 1978 as part of Chicago's long legacy of racial segregation. Let me read this. There were 309 apartments that were on the original site. I want you to be clear that we replaced 300 units on site, not bought out, not gone anywhere. Within months, tenants and news reporters began fielding rumors that Ani was looking to escape its affordable housing commitment. Amid the controversy, Burnett announced publicly he would hold Ani to its obligation, the news site DNA Info reported in 2015. They're trying to get out of it, Burnett said. It's not right. They're trying to wine and dine me. I'm like, nah, just do the affordable housing. A few weeks later, records show Ani penned a lucrative lobbying contract with Jackson, Burnett's longtime friend and political consultant. Listen to this. Before he was hired by Ani, Jackson previously worked as a consultant for leading Illinois political figures of both parties. His lobbying partners have included Michael Noonan, a former staffer to then Democratic House Speaker Mike Madigan, and Victor Riis, a City Hall patronage boss under then Mayor Lightfoot. I want to be clear, I told y'all all about this all the time. Records show, in addition to Jackson being a lobbyist, he has formed at least a dozen companies, including a parking valet service and a construction company. As a radio personality, Jackson has highlighted issues important to the black community and coined the catchphrase, "What's in it for the black people?" Jackson outlined his mission for the Ani in a 6-page presentation, filed as part of his required lobbying disclosures. He said he could help the company pay fees in lieu of adding units for low-income tenants. That's not what I said. What I said was the Ani Group would prefer not to build affordable housing units, but I showed them how they had to. Jackson also identified the primary target of his lobbying as Burnett, who is Chicago's top affordable housing advocate, is currently opposed to the project, which he was. The Ani Group has had a challenge getting the support of the alderman for the Atrium Village project. As a matter of fact, the alderman was planning to downsize Atrium Village project unless Ani decided to provide the 20% affordable housing. Jackson has called Burnett a close personal friend and credited the alderman with getting him into politics. Both men worked for the organization of Secretary of State Jesse White, who has lived in Atrium Village mid-rise for decades. Jackson and Burnett bonded in part because they were accepted by political leaders after being convicted of felonies. I was never convicted of a felony, just for the record. But you know that sounds like, ooh, I met a criminal and said, ooh, you a criminal? I'm a criminal. Let's do some crime. Jackson told Rolling Out. So they went back to, let me back up. Rolling Out had two, blah, 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 blah. Jackson and Burnett bonded in part because they were accepted by political leaders after being convicted of felonies. Jackson told Rolling Out. That's not what I told Rolling Out. Jackson had 2 cases in Champaign County, the BGA found, and Burnett has talked about his 2-year prison stint for his role in a Kankakee armed robbery. Jackson helped Burnett market a rap album, and Burnett supported Jackson's unsuccessful run for alderman their interviews show. That friendship resulted in business for Jackson. Between 2001 and 2015, Burnett's political funds paid Jackson and his companies $28,048 for work on his campaigns, according to the state campaign disclosures. The reality is, let me show. Records show that the last check of Friends of Walter Burnett Committee wrote to Jackson came in November 2015 for $200. That was 2 months after Ani signed an agreement to pay Jackson $60,000 per year, Public City Lobbying reports show. The contract increased to $78,000 in 2020 and continues to this day, records show. In 2016, among his first reported projects of his new lobbying client, Jackson hosted a political fundraiser for Burnett, spending $1,460.97 for table linen and chair rental and the event catering, City Lobbying record show. Burnett told the BGA he didn't know how Ani selected Jackson to be its lobbyist. I didn't talk to Ani. He did that on his own, Burnett said. I think they hired him because they wanted to have a relationship with me because I know I was mad about affordable housing and nobody wants to be on the bad side of the alderman. I think Jackson had an opportunity and I guess Ani bit, but that's between him and Ani. So I'm going to start there and I want to talk about it. So first of all, I want to put some numbers in perspective. First of all, I decided that I wanted to tell my own story. I didn't want to tell it to BGA. I'm going to tell you that the headline bothers me, but I get it, right? I'm on the field. I'm in the world of politics, right? I am 100% in. I get that. But I want you to understand that the genesis of this conversation, the reason that this story is happening is not because anybody is alleging that I've done anything wrong or did anything wrong, but because I offended 2 white women. So the genesis of this story is this all began during the time that I was in the full out. I had all of my business cut. And I could go nowhere in the city of Chicago and get business after having my Come to Jesus meeting in Springfield. And I read the stories about what's happening with Ani. And they were trying to, there was a process in Chicago during Rahm Emanuel's era that allowed major developers to pay a fee instead of building affordable housing units. I believe it was $100,000 or $50,000 per unit you had to pay. And a lot of companies were opting to pay that during the Rahm Emanuel era. If you know Alderman Burnett, you know he is a former resident of the Chicago Housing Authority. And since I have known him, since there has been a rebuild at what's been going on in Cabrini Green, he has always had an understanding that it is 10% affordable and 10% CHA. It's been his unspoken policy, and because of that requirement, oftentimes, I'm on the wrong thing. I'm blowing it up. All right, so oftentimes Alderman Burnett would require developers, if you wanted to build something in his ward, you had to put 10% affordable and 10% CHA housing because he came from CHA. And so as Cabrini Green was being redeveloped, one of the things that he was just adamant about was ensuring that there were people that lived there were able to come back because he lived there. Understand that there's a Canadian developer in the world that doesn't know all of the drama that I'm going through, right? And I present to them and I get an opportunity to do a pitch to them because I'm dry soliciting people just to do something so I can survive for my family. I'm a lobbyist. I go to them. I say, look, I can help you get your towers up. Not you can beat the fee in lieu of, because I know Alderman Burnett well enough to know that you ain't getting around the affordable housing component. You never have been. But my job as a lobbyist was to go to them and say, if your goal is to build your buildings, then let me tell you what you need to do to build your buildings. And that is put the 20% on site. Now, I want to give you some numbers because I know black folks be shocked when they see numbers. From 2001 to 2015, they are saying that Alderman Burnett paid me $28,048. Riis, if you stretch that out, that would be $2,000 per year, right? That's peanuts. But I want you to be clear that 2001 to 2003, when all of the bulk of, when 23,000 of the dollars that came to me was because I was Alderman Burnett's wife's campaign manager and his campaign manager. So essentially the fees that they paid me were for the hours that I was working as the campaign manager, because he said you're putting in so much work. I also want you to take a look at the pictures that they're using, right? So you look at the picture that makes the alderman look like he could be shady with the headline. Alderman Burnett takes cash and softens stance on affordable housing after cash flow. So let's back up. So I, Mays Jackson, a lobbyist, go to a major Canadian corporation, the largest developer in Canada, and say, I'd like to be your lobbyist. Now, the backdrop of this is I can't do any work in Chicago by local companies because I have been made a pariah by Speaker Madigan. These guys are from Canada, so they don't know nobody, right? So they like, okay, well, if you can get us a relationship, if you can open the doors, we want to get our building up. And the first thing I convinced them was, you are not going to be able to get out of the affordable housing. You are not. So take that out of your vocabulary, and now let's start to build. Riis, they say that 2 months after I became the lobbyist, Alderman Burnett wrote a check to me for $200. You know why? Because he said, we were out to dinner, and he said, I can't accept that from you because you're a lobbyist, so let me pay you. Because I had just gotten back in the game. Now, let me go to the $417,000, because if you read that, I need you to be clear that I got hired for $5,000 a month for a job that people paid $10,000 a month for. And I had to take the $5,000 because I couldn't work nowhere. So now, even as I'm bringing people on the team, and what's the craziest part is, because I'm not going to be bogus, I'm not going to tell you all of the other people that do this job, that do the similar work and get paid 2 to 3 times what I get. And they work for people who won't allow the affordable housing. Now, I want to tell you about, then I want you to look at the picture that they put. So Riis, I want you to see the 2 pictures they put. This is the picture of Alderman Burnett looking with the glasses and looking all frowned up and concerned. And as I'm representing a multi-billion-dollar corporation, they put my COVID mustache picture in the paper. Because the goal is not to... Let's back up. Riis, can I tell you the backstory of what was happening? What I didn't realize that I had walked into? There was an organization called CHI, Chicago Housing Initiatives, that had determined that they were going to set their sights on this new corporation because as CHA housing went away, the new racket for the people that profit off of us in the housing industry was affordable. And Alderman Burnett was rapidly becoming the biggest affordable housing developer in the city. Let's be clear that before there was an ARO, before there was a affordable housing requirement ordinance, Alderman Burnett required people to build 20% affordable on site. So once I was able to get people to understand that, we were able to move forward. Now, let me break this part down, because they tried to, Riis, they bought the building. And as the negotiations started to happen, what I recognized is that I was in the middle of a power play, because I couldn't understand for the life of me why would the affordable people that were living there be willing to let me back up. I got to go back to the mid-rise. So Riis, we were supposed to build 4 towers. 4 towers were supposed to go up. And in those towers, if you lived, as a tower came down, then a tower would go up. And at one point, Riis, you ever know anybody that's applied for subsidized housing? So people who are on the subsidized housing list live in this building, and they got all their paperwork verified, because they talk about we threw away 20 people, 20 families. What happened, Riis, was people was living in housing on their old paperwork. And then when the new building went up, you had to reapply. So you had to resubmit all your stuff. So when you resubmit all your stuff, they like, you ain't poor. You can afford to pay more, but then you can afford to pay market rate. And so what we did was we had a community meeting, Riis, and we found out that there were people who were living in the mid-rise building who thought that they were paying market rate rent. They thought they was paying what they were supposed to pay. But Riis, they moved in back in the 1979. So the people that were living in the mid-rise thought that they wasn't getting affordable housing. They thought that they was paying the regular market rate. So at first, when the conversations was going down, they was like, yeah, we want to knock down this building. We want to move in a new building. It was all good. And we thought it would be great until they realized that moving back into the building, the market rate wasn't the same market rate. So imagine if you move out and you looking at people who live in the building and you paying $2,500 and they paying $1,000, and you like, oh, I pay market rate. And then we tell you what the new market rate is, $4,500 a month. You like, wait, I can't afford market rate. So our solution was to save the bill. They were like, we don't care what happened. No, we don't care. Is there any way possible to save the building? Because we don't want to move in the new building, even though we have the option, because we probably would not be able to afford to move back to this neighborhood. So you know what we did, Riis? If you look at the development, we kept the building and saved 300 homes. 300 people who would have been displaced, on top of what we had to do in an affordable place. But what we found in our discussion, Riis, was that the white folks that was behind this action were willing to throw out all of the other people just to be in the new buildings. And what was actually happening was a war for white people who were trying to take over the housing market. And I don't know if you all remember, when I started getting deeper into this, I realized that CHI was putting black people at the forefront of this fight, but realistically, they were being run by a Jewish organization. And they were attacking not only the developer, the alderman, and myself, because we weren't going to be dictated to by Chicago housing initiatives. And that, if you recall, is when I discovered the whole t-shirt program. Remember when we talked about in these housing fights, we see people that are dressed up in a certain color t-shirt. They show up for the press conference and they're on a bus brought by some group of white people that organizes them, stands them up there, and the white person tells them what to say. Well, what I'm starting to recognize as this is happening is that this isn't about keeping affordable people in the house, in the building. It is really about these organizations that have decided that the new stomping grounds for control of housing was in the 27th Ward. I called it out. They show the poster of the community meeting. They don't show the video of the community meeting where hundreds of residents who were going to be displaced and the people that were making the decision who were saying throw them all out and just put us in the new buildings were the shortest term residents. And so I'm gonna be honest with you. We won, and I cannot tell you. I think that my client at the time probably did not want to build affordable housing on the site. They didn't. But if you get to the end of the story says that they wound up building 20% on site. So let me just be clear. We saved the homes, but not only did we save the homes, and it's so crazy because today when I leave here, that was in 2015. I've been asking what's in it for the black people from my clients, from every single person. Do you know today I am on my way to go meet with them to do a joint venture to build their next project with a black developer? Understand that a Canadian company took a chance on me. Now they gave me a pay cut, but gave me the opportunity. And after working together for all these years, every new project that we have has 20% on site. But now I want you to be clear. I want you to go walk into one of those buildings. I want you to go in and I want you to see that every one of those buildings, the people at the front desk, the people that are working are black people. I want you to see that when they built the hotel, they hired a black food and beverage manager. The person that's making all the decisions just bought the Emily Hotel, Ace, formerly the Ace Hotel. You saw right here on the morning show, Juan had a person here who's now the head of sales and catering and management. Do you understand that right now we are developing a scholarship to teach black kids who've never seen development the opportunity? But I want y'all to be clear that this was a straight up attempt by Joanna Klonsky, who is doing this behind the front of a dead black man thinking that she got a pass. This is the work of Leah Levenger, who ran CHI, who said, who is this Negro that dares talk back to us? She used to send me crazy messages like, we gonna get you. This is right now about a battle to take the jobs that those black people that we got, and they don't make minimum wage. This is a battle because right now there is a powerful union that has decided that they want those jobs. Now, mind you, these black people making more than union wage, they're getting benefits, health, everything. And it drives me, I gotta tell y'all, and hey, Shy, I'm going to tell you a story that right now, as we are building our scholarship program and building our development scholarship, Alderman Burnett walked through the building one day and said, how come all my people in uniforms and all your people are walking around in street clothes? And you know what that led to? That led to us hiring in the professional services. Now, I done got them. Y'all know I ain't the construction guy. But I will be honest with you. They got a lot of construction subs. Now, they build all their own stuff. But my space, initially in this fight, was to save the homes of the black people that were going to be displaced. And what they don't say in this story when they talk about separate but equal is that the people who were in the mid-rise, Riis, they would have had to move for a year, well, actually for 2 years, as their homes were knocked down and rebuilt. And their rent would have gone to the regular market rate, which they thought they were already paying. So it wasn't just the 300 homes of affordable. It was the fact that we were able to save that tower and save everybody's home. And the white folks involved was like, when the people showed up at the community meeting that they got the audacity to put the flyer on, more people who realized they were going to be displaced said, is there anything we can do to save our homes? Because we know that those people that are the newest, they'll be able to come back. We won't. And so I open up this story and I say, why does this story exist? And I'm going to encourage you to read the story. I'm not going to encourage you to share it because I don't want them to get high clicks off of it. But I need for y'all to understand that this is the mayor's spokesperson who's doing this. Joanna Klonsky. And I'm going to tell you, and it's crazy because I was thinking about, this is the same lady who, I don't know if y'all remember when I went off about getting a press release to the station I was at, and it was from the Black Caucus, and it said, call the white lady Joanna Klonsky. And I said to y'all, remember, I used to be the spokesperson for the Black Caucus, and that's a tremendous opportunity for black people to build their business. Remember that? Because it was wrong to me, and she was beyond offended. How dare you talk about me? I've done more for black people than most black people. What? So you gonna steal an opportunity because we ain't got no black publicists nowhere, that nobody could have that opportunity? And she made it a point, and I'm going to tell you, every time Carrie goes out, she's somewhere mean mugging, looking crazy, trying to do something, trying to whisper, trying to do something. And I'm not hiding. Right? I told you, the goal of this is eventually to try and say that Carrie is married to Maze Jackson, the lobbyist for developers, and that's why she shouldn't be, right? Now, all the time she's doing this, she's hiding behind the cloak of a dead black man while undermining black people. And quite frankly, Leah Levenger, the other person behind this, I don't know if y'all remember when when CHI was trying to take over Barbara Jean Wright courts. And if you recall, they were caught, the Barbara Jean Wright courts, and remember they were caught buying votes for the aldermanic office. Remember they was giving out gift cards. If you voted, you could come and get them. But that's nobody's going to tell that story. Right? And nobody's going to tell the story that right now, a big chunk of this is all about the fact that we won't give up the black jobs, that people are making more money so that they can be brought into another organization. Y'all, I just got a $120,000 commitment to put a child through college. But to put them through as a youth development person. As not youth development like fundraising, but how to build skyscrapers. How many of y'all know black people that know how to build skyscrapers? How many black kids even know where to start? See, over the course of time, we've been able to convince them that it's a good thing to do work with black people. Right? My fight isn't in the construction space. But I tell you what. They got black people working the construction site. They got black subs. They got black people putting in tile. They got black security. They got the businesses that we have. They have, y'all. But I need for y'all to understand. Did you see the part where they said that Maze Jackson and Alderman Burnett bonded over the fact that they was felons? No, that's not the story. That's not the story. I'm not a felon. But they can be loose in truth with my stuff. Remember I told you they tried to blast me on the paper and then said that we was missing money, and then all of a sudden they was like, oh, the state owes you $30,000. But see, this is what happens when white media publicists have these relationships. And I ain't gonna go how far these relationships go. But I do think it's ironic there are two white ladies who feel like they have the ability to determine what our fate is. And who is this Negro? Who is this nigga to think he can stand up and speak for his own people? And if this nigga don't do what we tell him to do, then we gonna turn him into a criminal. Do y'all understand that lobbying is a legal practice? Do you understand that everything that they have is because I disclosed it, because I didn't hide it? Do you understand that every single day do y'all understand that this company, the only reason I could get the work, Alderman Burnett didn't give me the work. The only reason I could get the work was because they was from Canada, so nobody could block me. Do you understand that all this is happening during the Ken Duncan era? Do you remember me telling you? And so as these people now seek to again, you're going to put this out and put it in the universe because you can play fast and loose with the truth. And I just don't feel like Joanna Klonsky should get away with it. I don't feel like Leah Levenger should get away with it. And if the union is involved in it, I don't think they should get involved in it. They should get away with it. But I feel like it's crazy that I have to take less. Do you understand that this company has now made it to one of the largest developers? Do you know that other people who don't have to can buy out of their affordable, bring it to the 27th Ward? Do you know that now anytime somebody doesn't want to do affordable, we're taking affordables into our luxury buildings and putting them in? Do you understand that? And the crazy part is the issue is not that it's affordable. Do you understand that these people were willing to they were willing to make 200 people homeless so that they could have 6 units in a building, which they wound up getting. But I wake up this morning. And I look at who's tweeting it, who's sharing it, and it's white liberal. I'm not going to put the other descriptor on them, but I must be clear that there are certain groups of people who feel like they have dominion over us, that think that their job is to tell black people what we supposed to do. And I said yesterday that I wasn't going to let her hide behind the memory of Brian Sleep. So in the process, and it's so crazy, and I really don't want to invoke Brian, but the last time I talked to Brian, first of all, he called me to defend this white woman that's doing this now. But in that same conversation, because Brian Sleet had called me right after I had done the thing, and he was like, Joanna has really been down for the black people, and she has really helped me, etc. And so she's a good person. And I said, Brian, guess what? I ain't going to even say nothing else about it. I'll let it be. Till she tried to roll up on me like I was supposed to be scared or something. But you know what the other part of the conversation was, Riis? I was pumping Brian up because I was like, man, you a partner at the new company. And he was saying to me, brother, I got the title, but I don't make the money. I don't eat like all the rest of these white guys at the places that I'm at. So yeah, I get to be the black guy, and I understand his existence, because our existence in the lobbying space is usually dependent on somebody benevolent white doing something for us. And if you don't be nice to Miss Ann, then Miss Ann can throw you up under the bus and get white people to feel sorry for you, because the two criminal Negroes, they was both felons, and they bonded over the fact that they was felons. No, we bonded over the fact that I represented Rockefeller Records, and he had a rap record coming out. That's where we bonded. And he was dropping a rap record, and I was trying to become active in politics. But the nigga story is, you do crime, I do crime. Well, let's do some crime together. Do you understand that? I've always told you I got my start in 2001 in the campaign. But can I help y'all understand? Hold on. Do y'all understand that I was already in the game? He didn't put me on. $60 million. I was good at what I did. But yet and still, I can in 24 hours be reduced to a nigga because I had the audacity to stand up to some white ladies who was trying to tell me what was going to happen in the neighborhood I was in. And shout out to the Negro who claims to be a black activist who was running around feeding this story with the white ladies. It's like, don't call me and say, can I get some help with my softball team? Don't call me and say, can you help me with my cannabis license? Hey, don't do it. And I need for y'all to understand that the whole reason that they do stuff like this, one, is to try and tank my wife. Two, to try and tank me. Three, to make me not have income. So that, because of course, the two niggas on the of course he couldn't just be a lobbyist. And let me just touch on the block club, because they was mad because I wasn't gonna let them just look. I took Parler as a client, and when I saw that the people complaining about the racism was the white people, I spoke on it. I just need for y'all to understand. Oh, and the Negro helping the white ladies be all up in. He first want to jump on the TV screen. First one want to speak up. First one want to call something out. But fam, I told you, and I'm gonna let it be because the people have already asked me. But the reality is, I need for y'all to understand that this is the work of two white women, Joanna Klonsky, Leah Levenger. I'm going to let the union be for right now, because I ain't got the direct for you yet. But your fingerprints are all over. And I got to say to the BGA, this story was offensive. This story was offensive. I need y'all to understand that I have been in the same space and had to negotiate double my contract for someone else because I was on the bad list and I could do the same thing they did. I will tell y'all that I woke up this morning and I was grateful that I have never lied to y'all. Right? I've never lied to you. I always tell you where I'm at. And the time you make Crane's magazine and they nigger you, right? And don't get me wrong, I love my What's in It for the black people. But if this was a story for somebody white, this would be a winner for them. Right? Even if they was not looking good in the story, we don't hire that ninja. I just want you to look at it. Look at the pictures they chose. Look at the headline. And again, let me just touch on the scholarships. So I don't know if you all know that there's a stay in school picnic in the 27th Ward. It has been going on for almost 20 something years. And every year that group gives away scholarships to kids to go to college. I went and said to my client, can we make a $25,000 commitment to scholarships for black kids who come from the 27th Ward? And they said yes. which meant that for 5 years, for 5 years, we would be able to give another $1,000 scholarship. That's on top of everything else we're doing. And as I have more trust, I have the ability to grow. Riis, do you know after the second year, the alderman didn't take the money anymore? So the black kids don't get the scholarships because the BGA is going to turn that in. Even though we do a check presentation, it wasn't the money flow to get the scholarship. Once I got the client, I helped the client understand, like, you got to participate in the community. There's nothing that alleges that anybody took anything personally or used any undue influence. But I could wake up to this. And so I got to tell you the other thing. And I want to open up the phone lines because I want you to have the opportunity to talk if you got a question. Guys, it averages to the $417,000 spread over the 7 years averages $59,471. How much money do I tell you a lobbyist makes every month for an account? It starts at $5,000 a month if you got a good client. I was making $4,964 a month. Now, it's funny because all the lobbyists that saw the article was texting me like, damn, you cheap as hell. Don't let nobody else know. And all I knew was they were the only people who would stick with me. And so literally I've had that client, and now because I made the white ladies mad, they're going to try and take it and then try and use it against my wife. I'm not running from the story. I'm happy to answer any questions. I just can't give the white folks the satisfaction of niggerizing me and me trying to explain myself to them when they have already decided that I'm like, really? They bonded over felonies. We wasn't cellies. We wasn't in the same cell. It used to be a good story to be able to say, man, I saw someone that had a challenge in his life and I followed him around and I tried to meet him and we bonded over the fact that we recognized that there was an opportunity. Not because we was like, think about when the white people read that. I knew them niggas was felons. But all the while, the author of the story gets to hide behind a dead black man who we all loved and respected. So now, so with the dead black man whose honor you want to be respected, do you know he was going through the same thing? But don't nobody want no white Karen. Like, you can't offend white Karen. Hold on. I just want to make sure y'all get an opportunity to see the picture. Right? Because, they quick to exploit us. So which camera is it? Is it this camera? I want you to see her. I want you to know her. That's where the story came from. See, the reality is the white folks get to do it and hide their hand. They get to do it, hide their hand, and then play like, oh, what are you talking about? So I want my people to know, because I don't think that the attack I think what I've always told you is that the reason that I was able to survive was because I didn't hide from it. I told it. Now, I also want y'all to understand that the goal of this person, and this is how they play, is to drive federal investigations, right? Because, again, so I want to be clear. that I've spent, we've disclosed, we've done everything. Everything that they are able to report was not because they found it or discovered it. It was because it was all public. Like, do you think if I was doing something wrong, I would be trying to? I would be putting it out there? If you hire me as a lobbyist, how many times have I told you? You're going to be answering the question, what's in it for the black people? And I answered it. And I'm proud of the work that we did at Atrium Village. And I'm disgusted that I could be niggerized like this by these people. I'm going to open up the phone lines. I'm going to give you an opportunity to give me a call. If you got questions, I'm happy to answer them. 872-259-7474. I'm going to go to about 45 if you got anything you want to say or any questions. But I'm not running. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not hiding. I am a lobbyist by profession. And I will put my work against anybody's. Let's go to the live line. Call you on the Mace Jackson Show. What's up?
Shalom, shalom, my brother.
What's up, Israel?
Man, a lot of things going on. You peeled a lot of scabs in that situation. I ain't saw the article. Who wrote this? I say business or something? Business?
Yeah, I don't really want to pump it up, so we can talk about that off air.
All right, don't worry. I ain't going to pump it up either, but I'm going to pump up this chump-ass Omni group. But I've been pushing on them chumps when they first came in from Canada over here. And I think Walter Burnett blocked me. You know, man, my niggas going to it.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this, Israel.
Hold on, let me finish, sir. Please, let me finish. I'm going to go back. Listen, I'm going to go back. That's why I know they're going to come at you, because I know you're part of the green thing. That's why I took a liking to you. You remember we had this conversation when you was in the 18th Ward. They told me to go bust shit, do shit to the white meat with the deadlock. I'm telling you, the spirit is moving, man. I just want to get this in because, you know, that's why I voted for Trump and runner. Fake news, man. The Democratic Party was bogus. I've been going there with the Democratic for the longest. My friend, my childhood, my cousin, childhood friend, Artemis Sawyer hired that white lady. I know exactly what I know Brian Slate. May he rest in peace. I know all this. And then one last but not least, and you can say what you want to say. I'm going to ask you later who the black developer is. But because Walter Burnett was playing them Southside, Westside game, them out there had them jobs over there, he'd complain to you. When I was cleaning them high rises. He was like, man, Bobby got to hire some Westside people. That's another story, though. I would like for you to help me get a meeting with Dr. Wilson about this McDonald's shit. I ain't letting that go away, man. So you can talk all you want to. And no disrespect to you, unless you want me to stay on and listen. But I'm with you. But I know exactly what's going on. Because I just saw Arnie Group, that Brian dude, put you in the email. CC'd you for some strange reason. Do you remember that just recently, days ago?
Yeah, because I do the community outreach.
I'm on your side, man. You know I'm on your side. I told you I got y'all going to raise. I got secret forces on your side. So if you want to say something, I'm just letting you know there's a lot of BS going on.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Israel. Not Bob. Thank you, Israel. I appreciate you. Caller, you on the Mace Jackson Show. All right. So I'm going to just tell y'all. I'm not hiding. I'm not running. But I don't think that Joanna Klonsky nor Leah get to just take whacks at me. Just telling y'all. I'm not telling. And the mayor, so I really been trying to be cool on the mayor. But since I'm going to take this as, I'm going to take this that Ms. Klonsky and all her clients are participating. What they say, you grin you in, Riis?
Grin you in.
You grin you in. So so the way we going to play is that you are going to try and criminalize, try and raise up, and again, try to create smoke where it ain't none. Lowest paid lobbyists. You hiding behind the brother that the last conversation we had was how black lobbyists don't get the same respect as white ones. And dude can't call because dude was running around pumping the story. And it's like, and you see, y'all know I keep all my stuff, right? So I keep all the meetings, I keep all the calls, I keep all the requests for money, I keep it all. And it's like everybody changed their story up when you realize you was trying to hurt. It'd be funny to me, man. It'd just be funny to me. All right, y'all, it's the Mace Jackson Show. I'm your host, Mace Jackson. Are you more than welcome to call in? Call in. Any calls?
It's coming in now.
You on the live line? You on the live line?
Yeah, this is J.R. Fleming.
Come on.
So I just want everybody to know, first of all, the original story is called Cabrini Green, A History of Broken Promise. I don't rock with Leia and Joanne.
I'm not. That's not my story. Hold on. That ain't my story. The story we talking about is the one in the paper.
They gave you money to avoid contracting us like Bob was rappers. They give you money as a lobbyist to avoid dealing with the community, bro. Just admit to the shit, bro.
No, I won't. JR, that's not true. That's definitely not true.
My man, you ain't got a duck. So-called black activist pumped up this story. I didn't pump up that story.
JR, who came up to me? JR, who ran up to me and said, "Hey, man, JR, I got the call log, bro." Who called me and was like, "Hey, JR, you gave me a warning. You gave me a warning."
And I never asked you for a license.
You gave me a warning.
Man, I told everybody it was coming after you, man. I told everybody. You ain't the last one, man. Y'all knew what went down in Cabrini Green. $123 million worth of jobs. 2,500 jobs promised. We got 40 because some Negro really went around saying you ain't got to get them Negroes nuts. And then community outreach made you ain't never reached out to the community in Cabrini Green unless they was plugged with the Democratic organization, bruh. Keep it real, fam. Chickens coming home to roost. Y'all thought y'all got away with taking $500 million from that community. It ain't gonna happen. And housing away from black folks, that ain't going nowhere. This story ain't dying.
Hey, JR. So I'm gonna tell you real quick, and it's like we'll publish it, right? And we're gonna publish who got what, right? So that's where it'll start. I think, I don't know about who said what. Jobs contracts, as well as my job in this case was to keep the people on the process, keep the people on the land. And if you're trying to suggest that didn't happen, well, my brother, I think you're lying straight up. Like straight up. And if you read your article, hold on, read the article. And what does the article say? Does the article say 20% stayed on site? JR, let me ask you a question. JR. Has it always been 10 and 10 and 27? Has it before there was an ARO, what was the requirement to build in 27? 10 and 10, JR. 10 and 10. Come on, bro. 10 and 10, fam. 10 and 10. 10 and 10. JR, people are leaving everywhere else in the city where Ron May allowed you to buy out. Stop lying, dog. You could, if you were somewhere else, you could buy. Hold on. Read the article. I'm not from. I didn't do Cabrini. I'm not in Cabrini. I did Atrium Village. Atrium Village. Brother, I wasn't a lobbyist. What are you talking about, JR? I'm just telling you, dog. You in the wrong space, fam. Wrong space.
I got one question for you, babe. I got one question for you. Have you ever attended a meeting? Been in a meeting with any developer or anybody and said anything to the effect, you don't have to give these people jobs and contracts because they're not qualified.
Never.
You can give it to me.
Never, nigga. Never. Never in my, never, dog. Never. Pull it up, dog. Pull it up.
Reference that I had something.
Pull it up.
Let me do you a favor. Stop referencing that I had something to do with that.
Pull it up, JR.
My article is
JR, who told me? JR, did you just not call on here and say you threatened me with the article? Did you just not say that?
No, I did not. I warned you about
you warned me.
I told you.
Did he say he threatened me?
May, that's not a threat. I don't threaten people. I make promises.
Okay. Bro. All right. Well,
I never threaten.
Okay. Got you.
Right. I told
you
that article was coming out. That was a warning.
So how did it come out?
That was a warning.
So who was you collaborating with?
You referenced two white women's names, right? I don't know
Who are they?
But you
don't know Leah? You don't know Leah? You don't know Leah? JR, you don't remember talking? Family.
Went to Leah.
JR.
A white lady that represents black folks over a black dude that represents black folks from the hood. He gave her validity. That's the chicken coming home to roost.
No, I don't.
That's what he gets for giving them validity over black organizations. The only black organization doing housing work.
Who?
Right?
Who?
He gave her validity. Now the chicken came home to roost. When white folks don't need you to do it no more, they throw your ass to the curb. Y'all know that. Come on, bro. The chicken came home to roost on y'all.
Back up.
Y'all gave Leah no validity.
Back up. The chickens. Pause this. The chickens didn't come home to roost because she lost, and the people stayed on the project, bro. and the housing went up and everything that they asked for, that the residents asked for, happened. And Leah didn't stay in control of the situation. So Femo, where's she at now? She left, right? She left, and her and Joanna, like, so you don't know them? You don't know them?
Who? Man, I protested Leah for
I'm
10
done.
years. You don't
I'm
know
done.
the
That's it. That's bye. Goodbye. So, I just want you to be clear. I warned you. It's the Maze Jackson Show. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Maze, how are you this morning?
All right, who this?
This is Miko.
Hey, Miko, how are you?
Nah, I'm fine. Now the rubber's meeting the road, and now here we are. See, you don't understand what your problem is. Your problem is not that you're making all these different. What your problem is, too many black people are starting to stand up and stand behind you and listen and pay attention to what's really going on around them, and they want to break that up. And so now the separation in the divide is not pretty much as it was. And the South, they see in the South side and West side starting trying to get together. That's a problem. Number one. Number two, we need not throw stones. All of you all that's listening, stop throwing stones when you live in a glass house. So let's talk about the Negroes that was trying to get contracts to pretty much tear down and demolish good buildings in our communities for $10,000 when we could have rehabbed that and pretty much became homeowners for affordable for our income brackets for black people. Let's talk about that when you was pitching that to the politicians. When there was good buildings, yeah, that's something you don't know about, your confused face. I got receipts on that, Maze.
I'm not confused.
So when you living in glass houses, don't throw bricks. Now, this is me defending you about some news that you don't know, Maze. I've been having that paperwork for a while. While you out here talking about black people and, economic wealth and pretty much affordable housing and about who you protested and this, that, and the other. Them silent protesters? About people pretty much call themselves always trying to be black people handlers, especially black poor people, my people, where I come from, who I am, my at-risk population, who I am, who I represent on a daily basis. Nobody can hold a candle to me about me selling out, about me switching sides, because if you right, you right, you wrong, you wrong. Now, Maeve, that's your real problem. So it's about you galvanizing our people and teaching them things that they didn't know, and now they listen and now they learn to follow the dots. That's what it's really about. Pay well closer attention. And you need to stop starting on subject matters and getting off of them. You need to start making series of things and closing it up and buttoning it up. Like I was trying to tell you about that Leah Levenger thing. You shouldn't have stopped hitting on that point. You should have followed that rabbit hole all the way down to the end and closed it up. And that's like a cancer that you should have cut all the way out and got done with it. And you wouldn't be right here today.
That's that 48 laws of
power.
Love
you, bro.
I love you back, sis. That's that 48 laws of power. Kill your enemy and destroy him totally. Let me tell you, man. I knew something was up last week when we started mounting up to go to Springfield, and I started getting phone calls like, man, you better watch your back. It's so I want you to read the article critically. I want you to understand that the initial job, and I want to be clear, the initial job was to build the 20% affordable housing. As a lobbyist, my goal was to help my client get the building up. As a black concerned lobbyist, when I recognized that there were people who would be displaced, and I tried to come up with the best opportunity, of which we did. My challenge typically comes from, right, the smile, but realistically, I'm a lobbyist. I've never lied about that. I've always been that. I think in my lobbying, I have always tried to define what is the client win and how do we have the black win within the client win. In this case, the client win, first of all, the first case was putting my mask on. The second was having a client and then being able to figure out the win-win situation. Understand that as a lobbyist, the challenge for me all the time is if I was disconnected from black people, then I could just go do what I did and wouldn't care less what anybody thought. But because it had made it my life's mission, the win for me for black people in this case was to save the homes. JR wants to talk about Cabrini Green. I didn't have the Cabrini Green situation. During the time that Cabrini Green was going on, I was representing nightclubs on Lake Street. When Atrium Village came about, my job was that project. I didn't have nothing to do with that other stuff, which also has 20%. We were able to, and if you read the article, get the 20% built on site, which no other developer in the city has done. Everybody else took the option to buy out. The only place you can't buy out is in the 27th Ward. To save the homes was the win initially. Over the course of the last 5 to 7 years, we have made them a responsible for growing their space and participating in the community. I bet JR won't tell you about the $10,000 that we gave to the football program, to the Demons. You know, the Cabrini Green basketball team. Probably won't say nothing about that. Won't talk about all of the countless times that community organizations came for charitable contributions, which you basically are drying up at this point. Will not talk about the ongoing commitment. Just think about we dried up $20,000 in scholarship money, trying to avoid. And it was only because if you recall last week at the Bally's presentation, I recall the brother bragging about the fact that the BGA was coming after me. You know me, I say I ain't never bring a rope to a hanging. But I'm not getting hung, niggas. I just need to be clear. I'll stand on my work. I think that it's very easy to hurl insults, but I think you've been right here for 4 years listening to this whole, and actually 2015, so 7 years being documented to all of it. But I need, first of all, for y'all to understand the two white ladies that kicked up the story. And can I tell you, sometimes you don't have to be in cahoots. They could use you as a tool. Go talk to him. So I just wanted to make sure that I was never, I'm never going to run. I'm never going to hide from what I do. And I will tell you that I will always put it down for my people. Always. But I refuse to let Joanna Klonsky, Leah Levenger, and clearly he knew all the people I was talking about. JR, the BGA, Cranes, any of that, take away from what I'm doing. I think that there has been a long-term desire to try and damage my credibility, which is why I have always told you what I do. I want y'all to be clear that any lobbyist that you want to go look, I want y'all to go look at the costs. Did I have ever been in a room and say, don't worry about it? Do that even sound like something I could possibly say? Don't worry about these black people in this room. You ain't got to do nothing for them. Did you ever say, that's that red herring bullshit? That you just be throwing something out because you just got called on your shit. Don't worry about these black people in this room. Do y'all think my clients don't see my show? Do y'all think that people don't say, you got Mr. What's in it for the black people? It's just, yeah. So I just needed to put that out there. And as it relates to, I think when it comes to, let me just point this out. If I tell you, if you've been to a black people first meeting, the first thing I tell you we do is we take care of ourselves first. So I often think that, and if you heard me say, if you live in the 27th ward, you probably ain't unemployed. Right? And then the rings go out from there. So shout out to Alderman Burnett who opened up the development scholarship to the whole city, to kids from everywhere. He could have limited to 27th Ward. Thank you to Ani for finally, over these years, trusting me with the brand and believing in me when everybody else wanted to run me out of the business. To Joanna and Salim, you said the other day, don't make it personal, but again, I just need for y'all to understand that we have to call it out, because the reality is, if you pay attention, the goal is not really me. The goal is really to be able to question me in connection with my wife. And so I want you to understand that, right? All right, y'all. It is the Maze Jackson Show. Anybody else got that question, comments, concerns? I want to be clear, though. Like, I done been through the storm and through the rain. It's like, no sooner do we finally get to a place where we got a voice, do they decide they come. I told you this was going to happen. I told you. So, there it is, y'all. It's the Maze Jackson Show. $50,000 a year. I just need for y'all to understand, $50,000 a year. They laughed. Do you know how many lobbyists laughed at me yesterday? And we got the affordable in the buildings. Okay. It's the Maze Jackson Show. I'm your host, Maze Jackson. And I'm sorry we went a little long, Riis, so I'm going to have to go ahead and pay you the overtime for it, but I ain't tripping. I'm going to write that on your schedule today, though. All right, y'all. This is the Maze Jackson Show. I'm your host. So for Maze and Riis and Ruthie, I am the host where every single day we ask the question, what's in it for the black people? And if you don't like it, hey, man, I need y'all to talk to Joanna. I need y'all to talk to Leah. Like, they all on Twitter tapping it up, talking it up, like it's all good, but it's like a circle. I'm not going to just lay down, guys. I'm not. I refuse. All right, y'all, this is the Maze Jackson Show. So for Maze, Riis, Ruthie, I am the host where every single day we ask the question, what's in it for the black people? And if you don't like it, you can still tell them. Maze said, we out of here. Peace. I want
Lightfoot seems more lesbian than black. Rahm Emanuel's another case. He was just tired. 50 closed schools left much to be desired. Police had Anjanette naked on that body cam. They suppressed the footage so it couldn't touch a lot of hands. Reminds me of that 16 shots in that cover up. Both of them similar, so I went. Yeah, Ruthie Mo, Riis the ruler. Maze Jackson. This is the reparations interlude. We not asking, we demanding. So go on, make my payments high. Tell the government to cut them reparations, make them high. Not no SBA loans, just run the bread, make it high. Tell the government to cut them reparations, make them high. Look, and check it out. First drug lord was President Nixon. Oval Office was the trap house where he was tipping. Got the drugs from Nicaragua and gave us crack. Declared war on blacks. Man, tell him to cut the check and tried to make it seem like a revolution. CIA was the corner boys for distribution. We could tear this country in half for retribution. But I'd rather get some restitution, so tell him to cut the check. John Singleton, man, he already told y'all. He broke it down for you when he made Snowfall. They locked us all up and created whole laws. So send a message like a cold call. Tell them to cut the check. Look, we built this city. We built this city. Back, put this country together and gave him hella aid. Lot of blood, sweat, and tears over 400 years. Been punching the clock, but yeah, we still ain't got paid. Look, they paying the immigrants, they paid the Jews. Executive orders, man, they made the rules. I want my 40 acres, you can save the mule. Cause as of right now, we getting played for the fool. Look, for sterilization, Tuskegee experiment, Rosewood, Japanese internment. Come on, was all paid out from the government. We waiting on our turn, we definitely earned it. So make my payment high. Tell the government to cut them reparations, make them high. Not no SBA loans, just run the bread, make it high. Tell the government to cut them reparations, make them high. Not no stimulus checks, just run the bread, make it high. Yeah, Ruthie Mo, Reach the ruler. Maze Jackson. This is the reparations interlude. We not asking, we demanding.